Welcome to episode 300 of War Room. In this episode, we're going to listen to a letter written by Master Sergeant Jeremy Brown, who is in jail for his actions on January 6th in Washington. So there's a lot to this story, and I want to look into this January 6th issue and see why so many people are still in jail and why this retired Special Forces Green Beret is in jail after he was asked to be an informant, then turned them down. And he's arrested months later after January 6th. So without further ado, let's listen to this episode. Jeremy Brown's letter will be read by a computer-generated system. It's 1.25. Tell me how you like it.
My name is Jeremy Brown. I am a 20-year retired U.S. Army Special Forces combat veteran. On January 5th and 6th, 2021, I was in our nation's capital as part of an all-volunteer protective detail tasked with providing security for organizers and speakers at a legally permitted political rally. On September 30, 2021, I was arrested at home in Tampa, Florida by approximately 30 to 40 heavily armed federal agents and local law enforcement. They came in full force to serve a misdemeanor arrest warrant for being in an unauthorized area. These were no ordinary agents. They were agents working as part of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force (JTTF). Oddly, in the 9 months prior to that day, I had never been contacted or questioned by any investigators about this case. Stranger still, the arrest warrant and search warrant had only been granted 1 day prior. This, despite numerous members of my protective detail having been arrested many months prior. While this may sound unusual to you, I know exactly why it happened. A month earlier, on December 9, 2020, the exact same JTTF agents that arrested me attempted to recruit me as a confidential informant. Their pitch was intended to gauge my willingness to infiltrate law-abiding citizen groups that had no criminal history and certainly were not designated terrorist groups. Having a healthy mistrust of federal law enforcement, I recorded the entire personal meet, as Special Forces referred to it, on a battlefield. Of course, I declined to pursue any offer from the agents and went on my way. A few weeks later, while standing next to the presidential stage awaiting President Trump's address, I was contacted by phone from the same JTTF agent. I explained where I was and what I was doing. So, on January 6, 2021, they were well aware of my location and reason for being there. On the 7th of January, I texted that agent with a video of the murder of unarmed female Air Force veteran, Ashley Babbitt, by a Capitol Police officer and told him, "Here is a contact report for you." He acknowledged watching the video with a wow. That was the last direct communication I had with that particular agent or the JTTF, even though I made multiple attempts to email them. That is, until the day they arrested me 9 months later. In the days and weeks that followed the events of January 6th, I was disgusted and appalled at the blatant lies that were coming from the media, politicians, and the Department of Justice. In particular, it was FBI Director Christopher Wray's testimony on the House floor that made me realize I had to go public with what I knew. I contacted a friend of mine who had a voice in independent media and asked if he would be willing to help me go public. Brandon Gray, a true American patriot, was all in. On March 5, 2021, he conducted a 2-hour interview with me exposing the recording of the JTTF's recruitment along with my professional assessment of it. That interview can be seen in its entirety at justanotherchannel.com under the title, Green Beret vs. FBI. I went public to counter the false government narrative and expose the truth to the American people. I knew I was making myself an FBI target, but I had sworn an oath to the U.S. Constitution, so the choice to speak out was an easy one. That interview was seen by millions of people. Over 30 more would follow. For weeks, Americans trolled the Twitter page of the FBI field office in Tampa, Florida by posting the interview on their page. After people posted it, the FBI would remove it, and others would repost it. This went on for some time. It became public knowledge that the FBI's failed C recruit had become an outspoken whistleblower exposing the agent's actions prior to January 6th. However, as I suspected would happen, the public's interest in the story waned, especially since not one major media outlet covered it. It seemed that the tried and true media tactic of ignoring me into oblivion was going to serve the FBI well, once again. But, not so fast. In mid-June, a major investigative article was released by Darren Beatty of Revolver.News that provided new evidence and insight, exposing the FBI's potential involvement staging the events of January 6th. The article also uncovered FBI ties to another plot that had FBI fingerprints all over it. The fake Michigan governor kidnapping plot seemed to be a dress rehearsal for January 6th. It targeted a pro-constitutional group claiming they were crazed far-right militia. Problem was, most of the players turned out to be FBI informants or actual agents. Oopsie. The new interest in my story lasted from late June through August. Only this time there was fresh perspective and a better understanding of the big picture thanks to 7 months of additional investigations, reports, public outcry, and personal videos and accounts. I shared my first-hand account, enhanced by professional opinion based on 20 years of special operations experience, some of which while working with the JTTF and other similar agencies on foreign soil. These interviews clearly got the attention of the FBI. Almost immediately, a few of my friends began getting contacted by the FBI. Some of them were even questioned and threatened with being charged with crimes. Was the topic of discussion the events of Jan 6? Nope. They wanted details about Jeremy Brown. My only sister was personally contacted on a brand new cell phone number by the very agent that was in the recorded recruitment meeting. He didn't call to ask her questions about Jan 6, he called to tell her the FBI/DHS was concerned that I had been radicalized and may even be suicidal. This was tragic since our younger brother had taken his own life in late 2018. Needless to say, my sister and mother took this extremely hard. When my sister told me, I attempted to contact the agent via his official government email multiple times in hopes of addressing his concerns, but received no response. In mid-September, my girlfriend of nearly 8 years and I were on the verge of selling her home in preparation for our retirement plans to become full-time RVers. We were hitting the open roads with our 2 Australian Shepherds, Liberty and Ranger. We couldn't wait to explore the beauty of America while visiting friends and family along the way. The plan kicked off with the purchase of our first RV in October 2020, well before the FBI entered our lives. The home sale was to be finalized on October 2, 2021. The JTTF had other plans for us. On September 30th, the day before my 47th birthday and 3 days prior to the close on the sale of the home, I received an early morning phone call from that same FBI agent who tried unsuccessfully to recruit me. With a fake "hey buddy" tone, he left a voicemail stating he had heard we were moving and just wanted to see how I was doing. Of course, I didn't return the call, but I did send the voicemail recording to numerous friends and warned them that they were probably coming to get me soon. Later that afternoon, at approximately 4 p.m., they came just before we were leaving to donate clothes and housewares to the Salvation Army. In what my girlfriend estimated to be between 15 to 20 vehicles, a swarm of tactical vest-clad federal agents surrounded our property and arrested me. Without even reading me my rights, they handcuffed me and put me in their unmarked SUV. Along with the misdemeanor arrest warrant, the ATF was there with a search warrant for our property and RV. Evidently, when one is accused of being in a restricted area, nearly 1,000 miles away, 9 months prior, the ATF is necessary to conduct the search. Despite my repeated requests to see the warrant, they refused, claiming there were just too many pages. After a few minutes, I was whisked away by the very same 2 agents that just 11 months prior had wanted me to work with them. When describing how much of a real concern I was for them, one even proclaimed on the recording that I was a 0 out of 10. Ultimately, the FBI and ATF spent 5.5 hours searching our property and RV. That's 3 times longer than the 90 minutes the government claims they spent securing and clearing the U.S. Capitol grounds on Jan 6. After this exhaustive search, they only managed to find a single inventory sheet of property that they felt was worthy of seizing. Part of that list were legal weapons recently purchased by my girlfriend, legal ammo, military gear and manuals that were never even in D.C. See, most disturbing of all, they seized the 5'X8 American flag I flew regularly behind our RV. How dare a U.S. Special Forces retiree have an American flag? As I write this account on December 30, 2021, I mark my 92nd day of being held in the maximum security section of the Pinellas County Jail as an FBI whistleblower and political prisoner. To date, these are the crimes the FBI and Department of Justice are guilty of committing under Title 18 U.S. Code, Section 242, Deprivation of Rights under Color of Law. 1. Violations of Article 1 of the Bill of Rights by criminalizing free speech and peaceful assembly for attending a permitted rally on public grounds. 2. Violations of Article 2 of the Bill of Rights by passing and enforcing unconstitutional gun laws that violate the letter and intent of the shall not be infringed clause. 3. Violations of Article 4 of the Bill of Rights by deceptively obtaining an unreasonable and illegal search warrant by lying to the issuing judge. When asked by me and my girlfriend to produce the warrant at the time of arrest, they refused. One agent was even recorded stating, "We don't know what we are looking for, yet. They should look for a copy of the Constitution and read it." 4. Violations of Article 5 of the Bill of Rights by not reading me my rights prior to arrest and questioning. They are currently still depriving me of my life, liberty and property without due process of law. Violations of Article 6 of the Bill of Rights by making sure nothing is speedy, attempting to deny me access to any of the evidence against me, by denying my right to a public trial by claiming everything is sensitive or highly sensitive, yet leaking information to media outlets such as the Daily Beast who had my search warrant before I did. They are denying me the right to face my accusers by citing numerous unnamed witnesses, many likely to be FBI informants. Because I am locked away in jail, I do not have complete access to witnesses in my favor and all my contacts with legal counsel are on monitored systems. So far I have been denied access to my attorney 6 times due to COVID. 6. Most egregious are the violations of Article 8 of the Bill of Rights by denying me bond and keeping me locked in maximum security. All illegal acts by the FBI and DOJ are meant to silence me and keep me from exposing their lies and corruption. Their fake charges and overzealous arrests were meant to intimidate not only me but also the American people. They think that this illegal imprisonment will break my will and allow them to coerce me into pleading to a crime I did not commit or that will bolster their false narrative of Jan 6. But, How did we get here? As a nation, we have taken our eyes off the prize of liberty and lost our way. Our families, our neighborhoods, our churches, our schools, and our nation have fallen into the evil trap of complacency. We have trusted someone else to solve every issue. We can deny it or even blame our neighbors, but each of us is guilty. If we hope to restore our liberty, our families, and our republic, we are going to need God's help. There is nothing new under the sun. We must look back on history for answers to the question, where does this lead? Or, how does this end? What are the outcomes of unchecked, unrestrained tyranny? The poet Martin Niemöller speaks of the horror of Nazi Germany. Alexander Solzhenitsyn recounts the terror of Soviet Russia. Whether it is Mao's China or the tribal slaughters that plague Africa, evil always finds a way to creep into power, then subject humans to bondage and death. How? Because the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke. But that same history reveals to us the solutions to this human cycle of liberty and bondage. How far will tyranny push? As far as you let it, so said Thomas Jefferson. How do we push back, you may be asking? Mr. Jefferson had an answer for that as well. It does not take a majority but an irate and tireless minority, keen on setting brushfires of liberty in the souls of men. As I sit here in my jail cell being denied justice and my constitutionally protected, God-given rights, I wonder, is anyone irate or tireless enough to save our republic? Will our children and our children's children wonder what it was like to be free? Not if you're reading this. Are you irate? Tireless? Are you willing to risk it all to set brushfires of liberty in the souls of men? Are you willing to risk everything? Or, will we just wait for some other good men to come along and do that something? The time to look in the mirror and answer that question is now. Trust me, the time to fight is not after the tyrant locks you in a jail cell. Here is the good news. God promises us He will give us victory over evil whenever and wherever it raises its ugly head, but only if we stand up, face it head on, and rebuke it with faith and action. Look at the example of young David when the evil Goliath stood daily on the battle line, threatening, taunting and mocking King Saul's people. They all stood by in fear and did nothing, asking themselves, how can we defeat this warrior? He is bigger, stronger and more powerful than us. Who can challenge him? It was young David, a boy who believed in God's promise of protection. A young boy that stepped forward to face the giant warrior. David wasn't even big enough to wear the king's armor, but he had courage and faith in what was right. When will we find our courage to face our giants? When will we speak up and take action to stand against tyranny? We can no longer stand to the side like cowards asking, who will stand and fight this giant? We must be Americans who say, here I am. Send me. My name is Jeremy Brown and I am a January 6 political prisoner being held in the very country I spent my entire adult life defending at the highest level I could achieve. As a Green Beret I am trained and prepared for this, and as an American I was born for this. I will fight until my dying breath before I surrender one letter of my liberty. I am only one man, but if I'm the only man, so be it. I know there are millions like me, and so I ask you, are you ready to light brushfires of liberty in the souls of men? Then don't do nothing. Oppresso liber. Jeremy Brown, U.S. Army Special Forces Master Sergeant, retired, JeremyBrownDefense.com, political, prisoner.com.
This is a sad thing. I hope it was okay reading this letter with a computer. It's all about Jeremy Brown, and this is a sad time in American history when we have these patriots in jail. There's more to the story. There's both sides. We'll be looking at this case between now and June 14th. And also, War Room will be the podcast for my campaign for United States Senate. So again, the notes will be on billconrad.us under episode 300. Appreciate it if you would subscribe on your favorite podcast listening device, whatever that might be. As well, if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, go there and subscribe. By the way, YouTube might censor me a little bit, so you might not get the whole story on YouTube. One last thing, between now and June 14th, I am a candidate for United States Senate. June 14th is a primary. Would appreciate any donations you could give at this time because we need to get our mail and need to get our targeted videos out. Appreciate it. And again, this is Bill Conrad and candidate for United States Senate.